Dear Lord Mayor, dear friend, dear Mrs. Wenzel, dear Mr. Gluck, dear Mr. Schoeller, dear Mr. Becker, dear Rabbi Appel, dear members of the Consular Corps, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, cher Monsieur Gluck, c'est un plaisir de vous accueillir ici. You are all welcome to the commemoration of the International Holocaust Remembrance Day 2025. Today marks the pivotal 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz-Birkenau concentration and extermination camp. As many of you may know, the European Central Bank commemorates this day every year, providing us with a moment to reflect on the history that unfolded in the very place where we now work, the Grossmarkthalle. During the Holocaust, this location served as a deportation hub for over 10,000 Jewish citizens of Frankfurt and its surroundings. And this day serves as a poignant reminder of the resilience of the human spirit and the vital necessity to keep these memories alive. Today we are honored to welcome Holocaust survivor Maurice Gluck, whose life story is testament to unwavering courage. We also have the renowned photographer Martin Schoeller with us. His photo exhibition, titled Survivors, Faces of Life After the Holocaust, will be on display at the ECB for 1 full month and captures the powerful stories of survival and hope. In addition, Anke Degenhardt, the curator of this exhibition, is with us as well, and she will now moderate a discussion between Mr. Gluck and Mr. Schoeller. The exhibition that you have a chance to see showcases the extraordinary portraits of Holocaust survivors that was created in 2020 by Mr. Schoeller in collaboration with the Holocaust Remembrance Center Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. These close-up portraits, including one of Maurice himself, form a mosaic of personal memories that embody the tragic events, the most tragic events in modern history, and the hope for a better world. And I'm still struck by how much each portrait tells a story of perseverance, of life's trials, and ultimately of the triumph of hope and resilience. Each line and gaze in these portraits offer a powerful testament in their resilience. It reminds us that behind every survivor's face lies a story of rebuilding and of hope. So I encourage all of you and all your friends at the ECB and beyond the ECB to come and visit and spend time looking at those portraits and trying to understand what they're telling us. Now, we are extremely lucky that in addition to his portrait, which is part of the gallery of portrait, Maurice will tell us his story. And I would encourage you not to withhold your emotion. He told me a little bit already, and I had a cry. And if we all have a cry, I think it's okay, because it's simply us responding with our emotion to the incredible suffering that many of our friends, other human beings, have gone through. And Maurice, I know, will try to withhold his emotion, but maybe he will not, and that's okay, and we welcome that. So, please, you have to join me here. You have seats for the three of you, and I will just withdraw and leave you the stage.
Good evening. I hope our making of film gives all of you a first idea about Martin Schoeller's project. Thank you for being here tonight. A special thank you, of course, to Madame la Présidente to have this very important exhibition by Martin Schoeller here to give the Holocaust survivor a face and a voice. I know that time is a bit limited, so I like to start because it's all about Martin and, for example, our dear friend Maurice, which is a very big honor for all of us. I think that he made his way from Tel Aviv yesterday to come to Frankfurt and tell us a part of his life. Martin, let me start with you. Why is it so important for you, to, among so many other projects you had done in your life, to have produced these? In the end, we had 75 Holocaust portraits photographed, and also why it is so important in these days to do it again, show the exhibition again in Frankfurt.
Yeah, I always thought it would be important to do something to remember the Holocaust, and when Kai Diekmann came up with the idea that we photographed 75 of them, I immediately thought it was a great moment in time, maybe the last moment in time to do so. And it's, you know, history really comes alive when you meet people that lived through something. It's nothing's as powerful as a person's testimony. You can read about it, you can hear about it, but if you really have people in front of you that tell you their story, it really hits home, like you've seen with Marta, when I pulled out this newspaper article and she was in this famous picture that we all have seen as children in school. That's when you really take a deep breath and when you really emotionally connect to something.
Thank you. Maurice, it's about Martin's photographs today, but I think having you here on stage, are you happy to tell us something about what happened in your life? Because I think that's what the people are really interested in, because we can see the photographs, Martin's exhibition afterwards, and the photos will speak for themselves, but I think it's important to listen to you today.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. If you don't mind, I'll take out my notes. I had some notes somewhere. Right. I'm sorry, my memory is not what it used to be. It was never that good. So, yes, I'm one of the survivors, and every survivor has a story to tell. And here is mine. I'm Israeli. I live in a small village in Lower Galilee, some 50 kilometers from the Lebanese border. I was born in Antwerp, in Belgium, in October 1939. In May 1940, the Germans invaded Belgium, and for the Jews, the situation went from bad to very bad and worse. So in the summer of 1942, my parents sent me to Christian friends of theirs in Brussels, the Van den Stock family, who hid me for the duration of the war, almost 3 years. A few weeks later, my parents were seized from their home in Antwerp. They didn't make it to Van den Stock, who meant to hide them too. So they were seized from their home in Antwerp and sent to Auschwitz on transport 12. That transport, there were 999 Jews. From them, just 78 returned after the war. My mother died in Auschwitz in December 1943. Father survived. He went through a number of concentration camps. The Americans who liberated him from Buchenwald concentration camp flew him to a military hospital in Brussels. Barely alive, sick with typhus, he called Van den Stock right as he arrived, and Van den Stock picked him up from there. I shall say that our reunion, Father, was unexpected. Father was in a bath that Van den Stock had arranged, and I came back from a visit in a toy department, in department store. And when I came back home, Van der Stok's wife was very excited. She said, there's a big surprise waiting for me upstairs. And I expected electrical train maybe, like I had seen. But no, through the open door, through the bathroom on the first floor, I saw Van der Stok leaning over a bathtub full with soap suds. And in that bath lay something that looked like a very, very thin man, actually more like a skeleton covered with skin. He was very ugly, gray, unshaven. Anyway, as I entered the bathroom, Van der Stok lifted his head. He said, "Maurice, look, this is your father." And I was literally flabbergasted and just ran away. The weeks that passed after that are completely lost in my memory. Don't remember a thing of it. Then I went to live with father, and never mind, he put me in boarding school, the first time that I met other children. Luckily, excuse me for a minute, it seems like the world keeps going on, so... Sorry. A few months later, we came home Friday evening, and our landlady, she was very excited. She said there was a visitor waiting for us, and as she spoke, a woman soldier came up behind her on the stairs, and when she saw me, she hugged me. She called me Schoeller, which was my baby's name, and she began to cry. Then she hugged my father, and they both cried. And they put me to bed, and in the morning, father stood next to my bed with the woman soldier. And I have to tell you that I've completely forgot that I once had parents. I even forgot Yiddish that I spoke beforehand. And there stood my father with this woman soldier, and he said, "Look, Maurice, this is your mother, Helene." And of course, since I didn't remember my mother, I was very happy to find the mother again. Actually, okay, first I should say that a year later, my kid brother was born, and we immigrated to Israel. It was 1950, the beginning of the State of Israel. Maybe I should stop here. If you want to hear more, we can talk about it later. I think I should mention that Israel was created so that Jews should not be persecuted anymore. Unfortunately, about a year and a half ago, October 7, 2023, Hamas, who controls Gaza, attacked Israel by surprise. They killed, actually massacred, over 1,200 people. There were thousands more wounded. The army was away. They came back much later in the day. And of course, the war has been going on since then. You all know about that. The surprising thing is that even though Israel was the one who was attacked, anti-Semitism everywhere seems to be raising its head. And I think whatever can be done to eradicate it, I think should be done. Whatever each one of us can do, I think, is welcome.
Thank you, Martin. Thank you, Maurice. We are open for questions before we ask you to go with all of us through the wonderful exhibition. So if anybody has a question.
Just one thing I wanted to add, I found it very interesting meeting these Holocaust survivors and seeing so many different personalities, you know, and I think it's important to remember for anyone who has any anti-Semitic tendencies that, you know, anti-Semitism, racism only works when you put everybody in the same boat, when you see one group of people as one entity. And I was very, you know, not surprised, but I think it's important to know that Maurice, for example, he was demonstrating against the Netanyahu before the war even started. Other Holocaust survivors have mentioned many times to me that they don't agree with Israeli politics. So I think if I find it so scary that anti-Semitism is coming back because of this war so strongly, because yet again, Jews are being put in one basket and all treated the same, as if they're all in favor of what is happening right now.
Okay, does anybody has a question for Martin or for Maurice? I'm happy to walk around and join my microphone.
I think we're free to go.
Okay, then I think we're gonna, yeah, what is it?
I just said, I have one story that I love that Maurice tells, maybe that he forgot to tell you. The story about just to clarify, he was hidden by a spice trader. Van den Stock was a man who had a spice business. And Maurice, you take it from here, the story of the German officer.
I think, first of all, I have to say there are good people everywhere. Just have to keep looking for them. I never actually felt like I was hidden or something like that, because Van den Stock was a very good man. And there was talk of the war, but actually the only thing I knew is that I should not see any strangers, and I should not go up to the second floor in the house. The reasons for that, which I learned after the war, is that on the second floor, the Van den Stock were hiding a couple who were friends from my parents. They actually intended to hide my parents too, but my parents were afraid of leaving Antwerp for Brussels, and in the end they were, of course, seized at home. But as I said, I was free to run around everywhere. There was a fruit garden there also. All sorts of things, because food was important. But anyway, I was free to go to roam around, and I had a great imagination. Children, most children have a great imagination. So I had these Lego cubes. They were made of wood at the time, and I had this particular Lego cube, actually a block, that was, imagine it being a van that was transporting goods all over the country, the world. And I was playing with this wooden block, and all of a sudden Van den Stock came in. There was just one door. It was a very small space, I think a little bigger than the piano, I think. Anyway, there was just one door. Van den Stock comes in, and behind him, this German officer. German officer is a stranger, and German, so I was very afraid, and I was actually, how shall I say, I could not move anyway. But then I wanted to run away, but there was no, so I hid underneath the table, a small table that was in the corner. The whole place was very small. And the German officer looked down under the table, I was blonde at the time, with a ray in the middle and blue eyes. And the man looked at me, and I was really completely frightened and probably very pale. And the German looked at me and he said, "Was für ein schönes arisches Kind." And Van der Stok, of course, said, "Please excuse my stupid nephew," and he sent me to play in the house. And that's all that happened with the German officer. He was a good man, and you find good people everywhere all the time.
Okay, I think this was a very good end for our talk on here. Thank you so much. You find everywhere good people. I think it's a good sentence to start the exhibition.
We gather here today in the shadow of history to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau. We are compelled to confront the indelible scars left by one of humanity's darkest chapters. So on this occasion, and together with you, Maurice, and all the shadows of those who went through these walls, let us take time to just remember, reflect, here, in this very building, the Grossmarkthalle, we are reminded of the more than 10,000 Jewish people who were deported from Frankfurt. They were forced onto trains that led to unimaginable horrors. Their voices echo within these walls, compelling us to always keep their stories alive. Our European values of democracy, freedom and human rights should not ever be taken for granted. Remembering, reflecting is just not enough. We must also resist the early signs of division and attempts to rewrite history.
To oppose the false images and blurred facts with the candid truth. This conclusion reminds us of today's debates about fake news. We need to bring truth into society, into schools, and of course, into the families themselves.
The memorial site around and in this cellar includes quotation inscribed on walls and the ground, testifying to what happened here, as reported, for instance, by Auschwitz survivor Bernie Lane, alias Werner Levy, in 1998. I quote, "It was hell, interrogation, screams, and never-ending harassment all night long."
To nearly 1 million Jews who were murdered in the Auschwitz concentration camp located in Nazi-occupied Poland, Auschwitz was liberated 8 years ago today.
מלא רחמים, שוכן